I want to welcome everyone here. It's nice to see a full house. This is very impressive for someone standing up here. I'm glad to see this. Oh, first of all, I want to thank Columbia State Community College and Dr. Janet Smith for letting us use this facility tonight. Isn't this a grand facility that we have here? Also would like to thank our two sponsors of the pizza, Jets Pizza and True Love Pizza and Grits. They're both Maury County Chamber members, and we appreciate them helping us out with the pizza. Also, over on the other side of the stage, you will see our Circle of Excellence, and we have platinum sponsors of Columbia Power and Water System, First Farmers and Merchants Bank, KCS Construction, and Puckett's Grocery and Restaurant. Our gold sponsors are BMC Metalworks and Caledonian Financial. Our silver sponsors are Hardin Parks Kelly Law Office, Hardin Parks Kelly Carter and Bryant Law Offices. I didn't want to leave out Wes. He's chairman of the committee and he'll fire me. And the sponsors for tonight's event is Jimmy Duggar Crylike Realty and Hardin Parks, Kelly, Carter, and Bryant. So we'll also let you know our format. First of all, if you would please take your cell phones and either turn them off or put them on silence, that we would appreciate it because we wouldn't want to be disturbed with a ringing phone. We're going to be asking 8 questions tonight, and then each candidate will have a 5-minute follow-up. We do not allow any cheering or jeering or clapping or hooing or whatever. If it does take place, you will be asked to leave. So we want to conduct this on the up and up, let the candidates speak their mind on certain issues that we have questions on. So with that, you see our candidates up here. We have 5 of them, and the way we're going to start, we're going to ask the first question to Jimmy Tennyson, and we're going to get 5 answers. The next question will go to Robin Howe, and we'll get 5 answers, and we will run it that way. We have a timer down here, and they will know when they run over their 2 minutes for each question and 5 minutes at the end. So we're going to get started, gentlemen. Welcome to the debate. Our first general question, because we're going to start off general, and then we're going to narrow down to some subjects. What is your first priority if you were elected sheriff? Jimmy?
Well, my first priority is to make sure that it's a smooth, with Sheriff George and myself, that we can, if elected, that we can make this thing work smooth, and the administration that he has had and how hard he has worked. And I think with what we've done, we want to make sure that we can keep the safety of the folks and keep serving the people of Maury County and doing what we can to help each and every one. Being a sheriff is a tough job. It's a big shoes to fulfill, and it's a lot of responsibility, and you've got a multi-task to intake and to look at and make sure that you can work with your people and make sure that you take care of the people on the outside and the judicial system, and just make sure that we will do what we can to help the people of Maury County and be there for you at that time. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. Robin?
My first priority, if elected sheriff, would be to really look at the effectiveness and the functionality of the Sheriff's Department. Make sure that we're doing everything that we need to be doing to protect you, the citizens of Maury County, and give you the most professional and accountable law enforcement protection that you deserve. You're paying for it. Why not get what you deserve? Once I've done that, I would look at the department and probably realign some positions and enable us to put more law enforcement protection on the streets. That's where we need it. You're paying for it. Again, you're the taxpayers. You need that enforcement out on the streets, fighting the crime, looking for the crime, and trying to prevent it before it happens. That would be my first priority if I was elected sheriff.
Thank you, Robin. And I neglected, in my old age here, I should have introduced each one of them before they spoke. Jimmy Tennyson has just answered, Robin Howe just answered, and now our third candidate is Bucky Rowland.
Thank you all for coming out tonight to learn a little bit more about your candidates for sheriff. My first priority would be to solve and reduce crime here in Maury County. I've shared my plan throughout the summer and spring, and it hasn't changed. It's first of all, we need to address the revolving door with repeat offenders. I've worked out at the Maury County Sheriff's Department the past 10 years, started in corrections, worked my way through as deputy in narcotics and all. But we need to address that revolving door, and I believe that we can do that through more faith-based and educational programs, more work programs. And if we can reduce that revolving door, we're definitely going to reduce the burden on taxpayers. A more immediate approach is going to be fixing our communication issues that we have between the Sheriff's Department and our city agencies. You know, we need to build stronger communications and stronger working relationships, and by doing that, by taking and pooling our resources, our ideas and information, we're going to solve and reduce crime. Long term, I want my department to be out in a more positive light in our communities by reaching out to our at-risk children and youth. If we do that, if we'll reach them while they're young and deal with them in a positive light, maybe we won't deal with them when they're 16, 18, 25, and so on and so forth. And the goal is to reduce crime. Thank you.
Our next candidate, Lewis Sweeney.
One of the first things that I want to do, I want to improve the image of the Sheriff's Department. There's been a lot of negative press coming as a result of things taking place at the Sheriff's Department. I want to sit down with all the employees and let them know where I stand, that every member of the Sheriff's Department is going to have to perform their duties professionally and according to the rules, regulations, policies, and the law. I think in order to run a successful Sheriff's Department, they have to first understand the rules and laws themselves. That's one of the things I'm going to look at. And I'm going to use my experience, with my almost 35 years law enforcement experience, to do just that. Again, I want the Sheriff's Department to be more professional. I want them to obey the laws again, and I want them to treat the public as a professional, and no one's going to be above the law, and everybody's going to be and perform according to the law. Thank you.
And our candidate on the end, Terry Chandler.
First priority I'd like to look at is the overall what's working and what's not working. Sheriff George has done a remarkable job over the years. When he took office 20-something years ago, I want to be able to take what he's built and take it further. There's a lot of good officers in the department, and there's a lot of good things that I can say positive that's going on in Maury County in the law enforcement, especially in the Sheriff's Department. But there's also room for improvement. I want to look at the leadership that we have and make sure that we're giving the county the money that they're paying us for. We have a big budget. There's a lot of overtime. I believe I know with my education, my experience, that I can realign some positions that can make the law enforcement agency for Maury County more professional and more efficient and more effective. I want to look out and make sure that citizens of Maury County are protected. That's the main goal, to make sure that you're protected. 95% of you will never step foot in the Maury County Jail. You will never sit in the back seat of a patrol car, and you may never step foot inside of a courtroom. But if you do, I want to make sure that we have the resources available there for you as a victim, and to make sure that your families are safe. I'm also a firm believer of the Constitution. I want to make sure that we have programs in place as well that we can stop the repeat offenders and take care of the inmates who are in jail. There's a lot of improvement that can be made in the Maury County Sheriff's Department, and I'm that candidate. Thank you.
Our second question. What is your philosophy on cooperating with other law enforcement agencies within and without the county? We're going to start with Robin Howe. Robin?
I think cooperation between law enforcement agencies within the county and outside of the county is imperative. It's critical to the effectiveness of law enforcement. crime knows no boundaries. Criminals know no boundaries. They don't stop at the county line. They don't stop at the city limits. I think that it's important for us to shake hands and reach across those boundaries and work hand in hand with other agencies. It's been no secret for a long time that there's been issues, especially in the upper administration of all the departments within Maury County and other counties as well. The guys on the ground work well together. The ones with the boots in the dirt, they work well together. But it's time to put aside egos and whatever and reach across the line and shake hands and come together for the common good, and that's the protection of the Maury County citizens. And that's what I would strive to do. In my career, I've built relationships with not only other agencies within Maury County, but federal agencies as well. So I feel that in using my experience and the friendships that I've built throughout my almost 30 years in law enforcement would be critical and be beneficial to Maury County.
Thank you. Bucky?
All right. That's one of the areas that's very important to me, as I explained in my first answer, is building stronger relationships with our city agencies and other agencies here in Maury County. I don't have all the baggage that others may have. I've already, this summer and spring, I've already reached out to our chiefs at our different city agencies, all three of them, and I feel like they're excited about the working relationship if I'm elected and as sheriff. I think they're excited as well. But I truly believe that that is the best way that we can reduce crime and be the strongest, have the strongest law enforcement here in Maury County, is by pooling our resources, our ideas, and our information together. I don't know why it's kind of like us against them mentality, and it shouldn't be that way. We're all serving the same citizens. We put on a different color uniform, but it's the same citizens that we're serving, and we need to do that as efficiently as we possibly can. And I believe that I am the guy that can make that happen. I could care less about egos and all that and who gets an attaboy. I just want to solve and reduce crime and make this a better place for my kids and your kids. Thank you.
Lewis Sweeney.
As a state trooper, I'm accustomed to working with other agencies. I have over 35 years of law enforcement experience. As a trooper here in Maury County, I have worked well with the city officials in the county and the county officials. So my background is pretty good of getting along with the other agencies. I think it's very critical. That's one of the first things I am going to do. I'm going to sit down with all the police chiefs of Maury County when I become sheriff. I think it's important for us to have a good correlation, and those individuals who know about me, I don't have an ego. It's not about ego with me. It's about working together as one. And I believe I already have the reputation of proving that fact, that I get along with everybody. And I'm going to take that same experience that I have to associate with the other police departments. As a matter of fact, all these gentlemen sitting at this table, we're friends. So I believe I could get along with everybody. And I think I'll be a great asset for Maury County because of the experience that I have. Not only have I worked with the city and county and other state officials, on occasions I had to work with other agencies not in Tennessee. So I've been all over Tennessee as well as other states. So I have a broad experience in that matter. Thank you.
Terry Chandler.
Team building. We've got to develop a team here in Maury County. We've got to partner with the other law enforcement agencies. I, too, have met with the other chiefs of police in Maury County and sat down and talked with them and talked to them about a plan to how to reduce crime and maybe creating a proactive drug task force to go after the drug dealers, not just the drug users in Maury County. The sheriff is the chief law enforcement officer. He's the top cop. So tonight, you're deciding which one of us is going to be the next sheriff. This is a big responsibility, and we have to partner. We have to make sure that we have these partnerships with the other chiefs and the other police departments inside of Maury County. Again, this is not an ego trip. It's about the protection of you and your family to live, work, and worship in Maury County. My military experience over 20 years, I have developed teams they put together at Fort Campbell and other various places where I've been a soldier at, even in Iraq. It's very important to reach out to other people and other agencies to come and try to help and try to bridge these gaps. That's what I want to do as the next sheriff. I want to make sure we're partnering with the right agencies outside, even outside of Maury County. I've worked for various law enforcement agencies, not just Maury County. So I have seen some things that have worked and what didn't work in other agencies. But team building is what we need here in Maury County. Thank you.
Jimmy?
Well, during my tenure as 20-plus years at the Sheriff's Department, we have worked hard with the other agencies, the outside agencies, the other counties that have called when they need under the mutual aid agreement. We went in serious action when it's taken place. We've been there for these other agencies, and we've given them our resources and what we've had to offer them and to help them in their situation to make sure that they get their situation done and taken care of. Sometimes not a good situation, but sometimes the situations have been taken care of before they have gotten real bad. So it's I've always looked myself with the Sheriff's Department, and I've been fortunate there as long as I have been with the Sheriff's Department, my 20-plus years. Anybody that's called me, I have always extended a helping hand. I've wanted to be there for the Columbia, Spring Hill, Mount Pleasant, the THP, or whoever, whatever agency it is it calls, because that is my responsibility. The responsibility is you, the people of Maury County, that your safety and your well-being, and I will continue that, what effort it takes to work with these other agencies. Hey, I'll have open arms and I'll be there to accept it, to help them.
Thank you. Our third question, we're going to start with Bucky Rowland, and we're going to start getting down to a little bit more specific instead of broad categories here. Gentlemen, so over the past few months, there's been a lot of talk about the sheriff's budget, overtime, those kind of things. What plans do you have to operate the sheriff's department efficiently and effectively, and are there specific improvements that you see that can be done? Bucky?
That's been asked of me several times the past several months, but the sheriff's budget, it's going to be set for whichever one of the five is elected. Now it's our job over the next year to take and dig into that budget. You know, I've asked in the past, I've wanted to help with it, sit in on the budget while that was being addressed, and wasn't given that opportunity. So I'm going to actually open the doors and invite more people in to help go through this budget and see where there's possibly some areas that we can cut or that we can save. But there are, just looking into or outside looking in, our SROs, that's one place that we got it right. I mean, we need our SROs in all of our schools, in our elementary schools, middle schools, and all that. I was an SRO for 18 months, so I know that this does go on. They don't necessarily have to be off for 2 months in the summer. I'm not wanting to take summer breaks from them, whatever, because they are needed at extracurricular activities such as ball games, different activities going on at the schools, so they are going to acquire comp time. But I would like to take the 21 SROs, just one pay period, 86-hour pay period, use them. That's going to reduce comp time by 1,800 plus hours in one pay period. By doing that, that's at $15 an hour, that's going to be just under $10,000. $10,000 is a drop in a bucket to $11 million budget, but those drops will fill that bucket up. And I have other plans, but only 2 minutes. Thank you.
Mr. Sweeney.
Well, first of all, I've been working for the government ever since I was 18 years old, and I am 60 years old now. So it's been a long time me working for the government, and believe me, I know how to get overtime if I want to get it. So when you're looking at the sheriff budget, I understand how the sheriff budget is accrued that much money too. And one of the things I'm going to do, and with the highway patrol has stopped, they implemented a program called the 28-day schedule, whereas if any officer accumulates any overtime, we'll say an hour, for example. At the end of the week, that officer has to report that overtime to his supervisor. And before the 28 period is over with, that officer has to make sure he has taken that that hour of overtime out. In other words, took off for some reason. Now, if that officer doesn't do that, then he's going to be held accountable. And believe me, the Highway Patrol have cut that overtime out. And the same plan that they use, I'm going to use the Sheriff's Department to hold everyone accountable for their time. So no one will be getting overtime unless it's absolutely necessary. And also, I want to use the reserve program. I think the reserve program for the Sheriff Department is a good program. They could be used in a whole lot of areas to save money and costs. And I think I'm going to continue, and also I'm going to recruit more reserve officers for the Sheriff Department. Thank you.
Terry Chandler.
I actually have a copy of the budget up here with me tonight. Back in August, when I decided I was going to run for sheriff, that was one of the most important things I wanted to investigate to see what kind of budget we have. We have two budgets, one for the Sheriff's Department and one for the jail. We're not going to cut out all the overtime. There's just no way. I've worked there. I know that we're going to have overtime. Some officers are going to stay out past their shift, or they're going to have court on their off day. Realistically, you can't cut out all the overtime. Last year, the Sheriff's Department has a little bit over $11 million budget. $300,000 of overtime was spent. You've got to take in consideration, people that's on sick leave, other different reasons, maybe shorthanded, maybe a few positions that hadn't been filled. But I believe that we can reduce the budget, the overtime especially, using the reserves and the constables. The constables in Maury County are elected. If we can use them and be more efficient in training them with our reserves, we could put them in places that maybe to do some transports. Transporting inmates back and forth to Nashville costs a lot of money. They have to come out at night on your off time, and so it builds up. But $300,000 is a lot of overtime, and it is easy to make a second job off the overtime if you subpoena your friend or somebody else and you sit in court all day. We could look at putting a court liaison in the courtroom to reduce the overtime as well. Anyway, we have a problem with the overtime in Maury County, and I have a plan to fix that, and I have investigated and have looked at the budget, and I know where we needed to cut. Thank you.
Jimmy Tennyson.
Well, my way is to look at the overtime and it is always a big problem, because Maury County Sheriff's Department operates and runs 365 days a year, 7 days a week. You've got people on vacations, FMLA, leaves, sick, in service. And, it's just kind of, you fix one thing, you get one working, get the other up and running, and you've got something else here. We do a lot of transports, and I don't know, a lot of you do know and a lot of you don't know here in the audience this evening. We do a lot of transporting for the Maury Regional Hospital. So when it comes time, sometimes even on the end of a shift, I have counted one night as high as 7 transports. And I've called some of the transport officers and say, hey, where are you going? I'm going to Memphis. I got changed from Memphis, got to go to Chattanooga to drop one off. And that's where the overtime, and then of course you got your courts and stuff. You make your arrest and you're gonna go to court. So then that's overtime. So it's an endless budget that you have to keep working on as far as the overtime, and to make sure that you can get it in line. So I want to take a spreadsheet, get with my people, look at it, and make sure that we can get this thing operational, functional, to save money. That's what I want to do. I want to save money, and I want to save you, the taxpayers, money. And I will promise you that I'll work hard to do that for you. Thank you.
Robin Howe.
In 2 words, management and accountability. But since I do have 2 minutes, let me expound on that a little bit. I think in reorganization of the department, realigning your staff where you have people in key places where you need them, and utilizing only overtime when it's needed. You have to pay officers when they go to court. If they're not working, they need to be paid. They need to be compensated for that. But I think there's a lot of waste that could be cut out with good management and more accountability. And you put that on your supervisors. The sheriff can't do all that himself. He can't sit there with a pencil and watch everything that comes across his desk. But you empower your supervisors to watch their overtime, and you hold them responsible, you hold them accountable for that. So reorganization of your staff and putting the people where you need them, and maybe even realigning your hours of when they're out there, and having them in the key places that they need to be to cut your overtime. But again, management and accountability is pretty much the key to everything. Thank you.
Okay, guys. Question number 4, we're going to be starting with Lewis Sweeney. Mr. Sweeney, do you feel that safety in our courthouse is an issue? And if so, what is the solution, such as a criminal justice center?
Could you repeat that, please?
Sure. Do you feel that the safety in the courthouse is an issue? And if so, what is the solution? How about a criminal justice center?
Well, first of all, safety nowadays is an issue everywhere you go. And I believe the courthouse is a #1 issue that needs to have protection. I believe a criminal justice center would be an asset for Maury County. That way, there's a lot of agencies can be fit inside that building that you could use. And that's one of the things I'm going to work on. I want to use as many officers. Well, actually, I want to use the courthouse for these deputies that has been put a lot of time and service on the road that want to be working the courthouse. And I think that would be a good place for them to be. But I do agree and I believe in having a criminal justice center. Because you could have this, city office agency in there. You have the county. We might even fit a room or 2 for the highway patrol. But everybody could be in that central unit. And I think if something come up, you got everybody in that building. So I think it's an asset. And so I'm for a criminal justice center and the protection of the courthouse officials as well as the people that come in and out. Thank you.
Terry Chandler?
95% of you have probably never stepped foot in a courtroom. I've seen the courtrooms at mass capacity where there's standing room only. If there was a fire to ever break loose on the top floor, I don't know that everybody could get down to the first floor to get out safely. But money, tax dollars, this should be something that should be up to the people of Maury County to decide whether or not they want to invest and spend the money on the Justice Center. I don't have the solution for that. I believe that something needs to be done. Whether or not we renovate another building that we have in Maury County around the courthouse. Obviously, the lawyers and the attorneys are all in town. Moving it somewhere else would inconvenience a lot of people. I know the parking at the courthouse has been an issue, but I've seen the courtrooms full. But 95% of you would probably never step foot in a courtroom. So it wouldn't affect you, but the 5% or a little bit more, it would. It is an issue, but it should be up to the people of Maury County whether or not they want to spend. You want your taxes to be raised and have to pay for something of this nature. Something needs to be done, but I don't have the answer or the ability to say that we definitely need to spend money to build a criminal justice center. I don't think that's what we need right now. I think there's probably another solution. And once in office as sheriff, I think that we need to talk with the mayor and the county commission and the citizens of Maury County to decide if this is something that needs to happen. Thank you.
Jimmy Tennyson.
Safety in the courthouse, yes, it is a big necessity, and it's something that if you look even on TV and the news around the country, where that even when ongoing courts have been taking place, that even some of the inmates have taken the deputies' weapons and, of course, and done the act there, and get out and have gotten out and even shot, I think, at one time a judge or judge or two. So, yes, it is a necessity because there's a lot of traffic in and out. You would be surprised over the years in the days times, how many arrests that are made in the courthouse, how many people are taken into custody, the business there that they're there for, TDOC, Tennessee Department of Corrections, that brings them in, other states, other counties that bring their people in. But yes, in the Criminal Justice Center, I think we need a Criminal Justice Center, but hey, that's been an ongoing situation. That's something that's left up to the county commission, because that funding is going to have to come from them, and of course, in our judicial system. Thank you.
Robin Howe.
I think security in the courthouse has always been an issue. It's not nearly as much of an issue now as it used to be. With the steps that have been taken by the current sheriff, he's implemented a good security program in there. There's good security officers in the courthouse. Could it be better? Yes, it can always be better. Again, it's tax dollars. Do we have the tax base or the tax monies to improve the security? I think right now it's adequate. Would a criminal justice center reduce the safety concerns? Of course it would. But I don't think right now in Maury County, with the economic state that we're in, we can afford a criminal justice center. I think there are other facilities or adequate facilities within the county that the county already owns that would take some renovation, that we could better use our space than what we're doing right now. I just feel that the tax base right now is not adequate for us to dedicate monies toward a criminal justice center. I think there's other infrastructure within this county that we need to focus our attention on, and the criminal justice center should be put on the back burner until there's a little better economic times within our county. Thank you.
Bucky.
I'll echo a little bit of what Lewis and Robin said. You know, our safety is an issue no matter where we are this day and time. But as far as a criminal justice center, I believe Maury County has much bigger needs than a criminal justice center. We need, I'd rather invest those monies into our children than into our inmates and all, and just use the resources, the manpower and the resources that we have right now to protect our courthouses, employees, our judges, the victims that are coming in. I mean, that's definitely an issue because you're bringing a criminal element to one place, and we need to use what we already have, the resources that we have with our manpower. And if we do Maury County does get to a point that a justice center is feasible, you know, we need to look at what resources are already available, what buildings and facilities are available. It doesn't necessarily, we don't always have to build new, we just may need to use what we already have. Thank you.
Lewis?
I believe I answered that question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse
me.
me.
Answer it again? All
my,
right.
My bad. I've even
think
got
that,
confused up here.
Did you have a change of heart?
Okay, here we go. Terry Chandler. Question number 5. Forgot to mark it off. That's my problem. We're going to ask a little specific questions here about crime rates in Maury County. Maury County, statistically, they are telling us has one of the highest rates of domestic violence in the state. What are your plans if you were elected sheriff to reduce domestic violence, and do you have anything specifically that you think works or doesn't work?
Well, first of all...
wait a minute, Lewis, this starts off with Terry.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, this is question number 5. Yeah. Go ahead, Terry.
One of the things that I think that we need to do is we need to work with the district attorney's office and with the Center of Hope. There's a whole lot of things we can do to work and work on domestic violence in Maury County. One of the things I want to do as sheriff is I want to dedicate an investigator. We have 7 investigators with a lieutenant, is to dedicate a investigator to follow up with the victims. And I was in CID. I was an investigator. That's Criminal Investigation Division. We sort of had something like that going, but I want to dedicate an investigator to work and follow up on domestic violence and work with the Center of Hope and seek out this family assistance center that we once could have had for Maury County. That was a grant that was rejected. I would like to seek out that again and see it's a one-stop facility for victims of domestic violence to be able to come and have resources available for them. and their family and their children. I think this is a vital necessity that we need here in Maury County, and I think that we need to seek this out again and see if that grant's still available. There's a whole lot we can do. There's a nonprofit. We've got some people here that's done some amazing things for victims in domestic violence. And as sheriff and as the county law enforcement, we need to partner and make sure that we're doing everything we can in law enforcement for these victims of domestic violence and their children. This affects a lot of people. We do have a high rate in Maury County. I have a plan, and I hope to be able to bring that to the Sheriff Department in September. Thank you.
Jimmy Tennyson.
Domestic violence is a terrible thing, and it's a hard thing for a law enforcement officer, he or she, to have to go in and work as far as they call. We have a good domestic violence program. We got the Hope House that we work well with, our judicial system. Taking these individuals in, the defendants that has been assaulted, the victim, and carrying them in for the 12-hour cool down time and making sure that we can get these individuals to a safe place and their welfare being and their children, and make sure that they have the things that they need, because when you're uprooted and you come out from where you're living, you know, it's hard, and the children get all upset. I have in the past took carloads, if I counted it up, of children and the victims, you know, even working at that time with the domestic violence when they first started up, and they have done a good job. We have I am a supporter of the Hope House and the domestic violence, and I want to continue. That is my number one priority that I want to do to make sure the safety and the welfare being of our people and our children. Thank you.
Robin Howe.
What a travesty this county experienced within the last year or so when certain agencies within our county failed to participate or partner with an organization to get a federal or get grant money for a Center of Hope. That was a smack in the face to every citizen in this county, because you never know when you're going to be a victim of domestic violence. It is a problem in Maury County. It is a problem in Columbia. Just because it's not happening in your house, folks, doesn't mean that it's not happening next door. So the Maury County Sheriff's Department needs to partner with every organization in this county and join hands with them and do everything they can to fight domestic violence. Whether it be assigning an investigator to work hand in hand with the Center of Hope, whether it's to put nothing more than a signature on a document applying for a grant to get money for the Center of Hope, whether it's partnering with someone to provide education and maybe possibly try to rehabilitate an abuser or to provide services to the victim. That's what my sheriff's department would do, and that's what you should expect of your sheriff's department. And that's why I want to partner with them, and that's why one of the reasons I want to be your next sheriff, is so we can partner with them and do something productive about it. Thank you.
Bucky Rowland.
Domestic violence, it's one of the most difficult issues that you deal with in law enforcement. It's one minute you're loved, one minute you're hated. And I believe that our deputies and our officers here in Maury County, that we're getting better with dealing with domestic violence through report writing, different ones. You know, we have to continue our education with that, and we're getting better with our report writing to help address that. That way we don't need a victim that possibly has changed their mind later on down the road. But I believe the key to addressing domestic violence, it goes back to my three-step plan. It goes back to rehabilitating some of these people. I guarantee you that if you've been arrested for domestic violence once, it won't be your last. It's repeat offenders. They're coming back. So we need to get to the root of what keeps bringing them back. And so many times it's substance abuse in whatever you're arrested for. But domestic violence is definitely one of those issues. And I believe through these different programs, educational programs, faith-based programs, and working closer with our Center of Hope and different places like that, and giving our deputies another avenue to send these victims and their families to during this process, that's going to help reduce domestic violence. But especially the offender, we need to try and help them see what keeps causing the domestic violence. Thank you.
Lewis Sweeney.
As a state trooper out on the highway, I haven't had to deal with too much domestic violence until it occurred in that car out there on the interstate. And believe me, when domestic violence occurs on the interstate in cars, and you're the only one there, it's a lot of trouble. But a lot of you may not realize, I used to be a deputy sheriff also. Not here in Maury County, I was a deputy sheriff in Rutherford County. Well, during my time as a deputy in Rutherford County, I did encounter on domestic violence. And what I've encountered was, you really don't know sometimes who really is the victim. A woman may have a black eye, or a man may not have a black eye. It may be the woman's fault. So what I want to do as a sheriff, I want to educate my officers to learn and recognize what actually domestic violence is really all about. And just because one person says something, that doesn't mean that it's necessarily true. So I think education is very important. And again, I also would like to work very closely with the agencies in Maury County that would deal with domestic violence. It's a dangerous situation. And I'm definitely going to do all that I can to assist the victims and also do what I have to do as far as enforcing the law to the ones who are doing the assaults. Thank you.
Now we're going to start off with question number 6. We're going to come back up here to you, Jimmy. Other than domestic violence that we just got through discussing, what do you see as the biggest criminal issue to Maury County, and do you have any plans to reduce that criminal activity?
Well, what we've been seeing quite a bit of here of late, and especially if you've noticed in the paper, just as of last week, we've had 5 suspects was arrested by our deputies, which they done a good job, in which a occurrence had occurred on Highway 50 East at one of the gas and gold markets, and they took them down, brought them in. Robbery is one thing. Taking people's property that belongs to them, going in and depriving, putting people at risk, knowing what they're looking for as far as monies to take care of their habits. And robbery is a big thing. And then, of course, larceny, theft. People just walk into your stores having a hard time trying to make it as it is in this hard economical time, taking and depriving them of their business, and depriving the buyer that goes in that wants to spend their money. It's a big situation that we as all law enforcement have to work with, and we want to be there to do that, and I want to work on that hard and serious. Thank you.
Robin Howe.
I would venture a guess and say that 85 to 90% of all the crime committed in Maury County is directly related to substance abuse. Whether it be theft, robbery, larceny, shoplifting, it's all goes back to substance abuse. I think that as the sheriff of Maury County, you need to partner with the other agencies, and you need to focus and target those people that are distributing the drugs in Maury County. I think you need to focus on the people that are committing the crimes. Statistics say that 5 to 6% of the entire population are the ones that's causing 98% of the crime. You need to target those. You need to laser those people out. It's not hard to get intelligence on these people and information on these people and find out where they live, find out where they're going to commit their crimes, and you've got to focus your deputies or your law enforcement officers on them. That's where the focus needs to be, and that's the only way that you're going to do anything about it. The old way of policing, of being reactive, riding around and waiting on that next phone call to come in, it's old, it's tired, and it's not effective. The effective way is be proactive and take the fight to them. Don't just ride around and wait on the call to come in. You know where these 5 to 6% of the people are. Go after them. Move into their neighborhoods and move them out. That's how you combat the biggest problem in Maury County, and that's going to be your drugs and the crimes associated with it. Thank you.
Bucky Rowland.
Did you read my notes?
I actually wrote your notes for you.
All right.
Yeah, he was peeking over your shoulder there, Bucky.
It's just like Robin said, substance abuse problems, and it's alcohol and drugs, but especially the drugs. That's the one thing that I'd say 99% of the inmates that come through Maury County Jail, or any jail for that matter, it goes back to a substance abuse problem. And it's a great problem. It's affected my family. I have 5 brothers or first cousins that have literally spent more of their adult life either in a county jail or state penitentiary, and it goes back to drugs. So I can't stand drugs. It has ruined a lot of families, and it's definitely affected mine. But it goes back to my plan once again. I want to take and build a true drug task force where every agency is bringing something to the table. I want to build a CID task force, something that doesn't exist, to where we can pool our ideas and our resources, whatever it may be. The information that we have, we sit on information so many times, and if another agency had it, we could solve crime, and that's how we're going to do it. But I will say this: if I'm entrusted the office of sheriff, I'm giving anyone that's committing felonious crimes in Maury County, I'm giving you some advice. You can either quit or move. Thank you.
Louis Sweeney.
I think the advantage that Maury County citizens have is my reputation as a state trooper. You all may not be aware of this, but my reputation out on the street, if you're going to do something that's illegal, don't do it around Trooper Sweeney. I've enjoyed seeing these guys dealing in drugs. When they see me drive up, they run, and things like that. But there's another thing that you all may not know. Before becoming a state trooper, before becoming a deputy sheriff, I used to work at a place called Spencer Youth Center, which was a juvenile institution. I conducted a drug and alcohol abuse program for that institution, which was accepted by Governor Alexander and has been implemented with the state. And a lot of programs have derived out of that program that I started. So I'm very aware of the problem with drugs and alcohol. One of the things that I've noticed as a law enforcement officer is a lot of times that these officers feel like, why should I stop a guy just dealing with a few bags of marijuana, for example, and when they go to court, they're going to let them out. Well, my thing is, I don't care if you have a seed. If you got that seed, I'm going to do something about it. Because if I stop you with a seed in your pocket, maybe you won't have anything else in your pocket. I'm going to enforce the law. And I think drug and alcohol and abuse and stuff like that is a cause and effect of the crimes that's committed in this county. So as your sheriff, I'm going to work with the other agencies, and we're going to eradicate drugs and alcohol in this town. And hopefully, we'll eradicate the thought of committing crime when I'm a sheriff. Thank you.
Well, Terry Chandler.
Meth. I'm sure we've all heard that word, meth labs. Very dangerous. Tennessee is the #1 state in the country on meth labs. As the next sheriff, I want to make sure that we have a proactive drug task force that will go out in the county and reduce the meth labs and the meth in Maury County. Meth has destroyed a lot of families. It's a drug that once you take, it will destroy you. You get hooked. I hate to see some of the families and some of the children that grow up around this dangerous drug. And we need to do more as a law enforcement community to eradicate the meth labs and the meth in Maury County. I've seen several families destroyed, their children, how they get addicted to it, how it destroys the home when it's been made in the home, the dangers of the chemicals, the explosions. I want to create a drug task force that would partner with the city of Columbia, Spring Hill, and Mount Pleasant to work together, also with the district attorney's office. Maury County has 2 drug task forces. They have one with the city and one with the county. Several years ago, we used to have one that used to work together, and also there's one with the Judicial Drug Task Force with the DA's office. Communication is not really shared when you have that many task force. I want to create a flex team. A flex team is a new team that's been developed across the country in some agencies where they also partner and work with the drug task force. They go out and serve warrants, and they work with criminal investigators. You know, they're made up of a three-man team, restructuring some officers in the department. This flex team could go out and do a lot of good in the county. They're also serving warrants, going into these homes, and looking for drug. Thank you.
Well, sorry, Terry. Jimmy Tennyson.
I think I went.
He started with that.
Yep.
I started.
Oh, you okay? Well, see, I'm screwing up again. All right. So now we're here question number 7, and I did have it marked off. And we're going to start with Robin Howe. Robin, let's talk about some of the other responsibilities that the Sheriff's Department has. And one of them is SROs. Maury County is one of the only counties in the state that has SROs in every school. And when other counties come to look for an SRO program, they come to look for us. So what are your future plans for the programs like SRO, DARE, and those kind of programs that the Sheriff Office administers?
I think the SRO is probably one of the best programs that has come along since the bread slicer. Kudos to Sheriff George and Nathan Johns. I believe they had a tremendous role in developing that and implementing that program in our school. If it hadn't have been for Sheriff George, the SRO program would have gone away. If you're not familiar with that, the SRO program actually started under the school board, if I'm not mistaken. And when budget cuts started getting deep, that was one of the things that the county commission wanted to look at. And Sheriff George stood up and says, I'll take it. So kudos to the sheriff for that. There's been rumors circulating that Robin Howe was going to do away with the SRO program, or Robin Howe was going to take SROs out of the elementary school. How in the world can you do that when you pick up the paper every other day and there's a school shooting across this country? It may not have happened in Maury County, but it's not a question of if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen, when something is going to happen in one of our schools. And to remove the school resource officers would be doing a drastic disservice to not only the citizens and the kids in our community, but as a whole to this country, to take them out. Because our SRO program is a stellar program that is looked to throughout the country as being one of the best out there. My plans would be to expound on it, to expand it if possible. Would like to discuss the option of going into the private schools if they would let us. I know that would be an issue with taxpayer monies going into the private schools, but they're just as susceptible to this as any of our public schools are. I think it's a great program and would love to build on it and look forward to working hand in hand with the SROs and NASRO and keep Maury County's SRO program one of the best in the country. Thank you.
Bucky Rowland.
The SRO unit, which I talked about it earlier, it's one of the best, if not, it's the most positive unit within our department, and I was very proud to be part of it, and I love helping those guys as much as I can. And they're going to be a huge part in the future of this Maury County Sheriff's Department. What I would like to do is, like I said earlier, use them for just the 2 weeks during school breaks, things like that, to fill in for different areas when other guys are going to be off for vacation, what have you. But also, by doing this, it's not just for that. It's going to make them more aware of what trends are happening out on the street. That way they'll know what to look for when they go back to their schools. If you're just sitting in your school all the time, you don't really know what's happening on the street. Just like this mollies and all that, the synthetic drugs and all. The SROs, you know, they didn't have a lot of information on that. If they're out on the street, they'll get to know what's going on with those trends. Also, I just want to add more responsibility to our SROs, and it's going to help them be better SROs in their duties. They're deputies just like anybody else. They're just assigned to a school. But I would love to take and put the sex offender registry underneath the SROs. They have more manpower than civil. Civil has a lot on their plate, but our SROs, they're the ones that need to know who our sex offenders are and if they're coming on their campuses. That way they can protect our most valuable asset, and that's our youth. Thank you.
Lewis Sweeney.
The programs that Amy George started that's working, I'm going to continue to use those programs. As a matter of fact, when I become sheriff, I'm not going to take his picture off the wall. I'm going to utilize the reserve deputies, reserve officers in the county to assist the SROs. I think a lot of things are taking place in these schools nowadays that they need extra protection. And like I said, I used to work with juveniles. I love children. I love your children. And that's one of the things I'm going to do. I'm going to beef up the protection for the schools in Maury County. Again, there's going to be an SRO in the schools, and also I'm going to, like I said, going to recruit some reserve officers to hang around in that area also. So I'm pleased with the SRO program. Thank you.
Terry Chandler.
School resource officers are a valuable asset to the community. A lot of children in the schools, that's the first officer that they've ever encountered. That impacts them the rest of their life. They develop a relationship with that school resource officer where they trust that officer. Sometimes in the homes that I've been to, when we show up in the middle of the night kicking a door in for a drug warrant or whatever, you know, that's who some of the kids, they remember. They remember that officer, and their families are telling their kids that, hey, you know, police are bad. You know, they come in and they see that. But in the schools, it's a different atmosphere. I believe that we have a good SRO program. Enoch George has done a great job getting that program in place. We have some great SRO officers in the schools. I want to make sure that they have the training that they need. I don't want to see on the news that Maury County has had a school shooting. You know, you see that, it's heartbreaking. But the SROs are a valuable asset. In the summertime when they're out of school, I've had a couple come to me and ask me, you know, if I'm sheriff, could they come out and they patrol or they serve warrants? We have a filing cabinet full of unserved arrest warrants at the sheriff department. At $48 a pop, 5,000 warrants, that's about $240,000 of revenue we can bring into Maury County. Using the SROs in the summertime to help serve some of these warrants would be revenue that we would bring in. That's my plan. I want to make sure that we're able to use the SROs when they're not in school, use them effectively and efficiently. We don't need all of them at the ball game. We have reserves that show up, and they also are paid from the school system. That's my plan. Thank you.
Jimmy Tillison.
Well, I also was working with Sheriff George and Chief Johns at that time when this school resource officers was implemented in our school system. We started out, we had like the high schools, and then of course we went back to our county commission and kept working with them, and we got into the junior high, and kept going back working with them, and we got into the elementary. Would I use them out on the road? Yes, they are utilized out on the road. They do help serve warrants. We have them now that don't have enough time. Then we take and put them on the road because they have to, FTO, field training officer that they have to be assigned with to where that they can get their training because, as was said, a deputy is a deputy is a deputy. I respect all deputies as the same. I want them to be treated as the same. I want them to be treated with respect and dignity as the same because they work hard. What else do they do? We talked about working them in the jail, D-board hearings with the jail. We've got a group that comes in and works on the D-board. They have D-board hearings, and so you have many things that has to be done within the jail. Along sometimes we've had to use them in the court system for security, just different areas. And we've got a good group of folks, of school resource officers, that put their best foot forward, and they do us a good job, and I'm very proud of them. Thank you.
Our last question from the round robin here. Other than law enforcement, the sheriff's department has other responsibilities such as service of process or serving warrants, jail administration, animal control, Can you give us your plans on what you would do in those particular areas? Bucky?
Those units, I mean, animal control, different areas like that, they do a great job. And as far as our civil unit, they do a great job. I have to say, you know, that as far as right now, the changes with those units that you mentioned, they're doing a great job. And there's not a lot that I can share as how I'll make any changes or anything with those units. Of course, we work with the mayor with the animal control, things like that. Our civil process, Glenn Mash, he does a good job. But as far as those changes, we're going to continue to as we're going right now. Thank you.
Lewis Sweeney.
You citizens in Maury County have an advantage by me becoming the sheriff. As I mentioned earlier, I used to work for the Department of Youth Development, Spencer Youth Center. I was a supervisor there. I ran the whole institution by myself when my supervisors were gone. So I understand the jail concept a little also. And I think as a sheriff, you have to understand the correctional end too. And that's where education comes in. With me, with education, I have learned that an inmate is a human too. Everybody makes mistakes. So the institution I'm going to run is as far as the correctional end, I want to give every inmate an opportunity to be rehabilitated. That's the job of a sheriff, to rehabilitate inmates so they can become better citizens. As far as animal control, I want them to be professional at their jobs too, and to remember that pets are like humans to people, and I want them to treat pets of these citizens the same way, because I have pets in my house too, and I surely hate for any harm to be done to them. So I understand about the pet situation, and my animal control officers are going to do their job and not be happy with the gun. Also, civil papers. I understand about civil warrants in cases like that. Again, I used to be a deputy sheriff. I used to do that also. So everything I'm going to do as your sheriff, I'm going to improve it. I'm going to educate my officers to do a good job for you. That's where it's going to come in. That's where my experience comes from a state trooper. I've been trained by the best. And that same training that I have had, I'm going to stop.
Sorry, we got to keep on our time.
Okay.
Terry?
My 23 years of law enforcement experience has been with the Sheriff's Department. I've worked for 3 different sheriffs. I understand civil process. Civil process is a very important role of the county sheriff. If you go and you have to fill out a warrant on someone, that warrant needs to be served within a certain amount of time because you have a court case coming up. Also with a summons, a divorce decree, divorce paper, a levy, civil process is the responsibility of the sheriff. It doesn't fall under the city, it falls under the sheriff. He's responsible for the civil process to be served. The jail, a couple things that I want to do with the jail is implement a commissary. The commissary could offset some of the costs that we as taxpayers have to pay for the inmates. That's also personal hygiene. Most of your departments now, they have a commissary in place where we're not having to foot the bill for the inmate. Also thinking that one of my plans is a garden. The land out there at the Maury County Sheriff Department is by the river. There's no reason why we couldn't put out a garden for these inmates to grow some of their own vegetables and own produce. It's work detail. I want to make sure that these inmates are working. We can use them as inmate labor to help some of the costs out throughout the county, making sure that they're not sleeping all day. They need to be up. I was in the military. We had to be up all day. I believe that having them up and having them doing something, either cleaning their cells, an idle mind is a devil's workshop. And if we have them out picking up litter, working them. The animal shelter, the animal control has been an issue throughout Maury County. I've taught college at the University of Missouri. I taught animal cruelty investigations. I've been very active in Maury County as far as animal cruelty cases. We can do better. We can improve the animal control that we have responding. That's it.
Thank you for your 2 minutes. Jimmy Tennyson.
The sheriff's responsibility is a big responsibility. He or she is the chief law enforcement of the county. He or she is the one who's elected by you, the voters. The jail, to maintain the jail, to keep the peace, to make sure the security in the courthouses is taken care of, to serve criminal, civil process, to make sure that the patrol units are intact and in where that they need to be, and enforcing the law. It is a big responsibility, 614 square mile. And for that, you know, and you're employed 156 employees, a 386 bed facility. I've been there, I've done it. I've worked in it all. I've went from the bottom, it started as far as the jail at the old jail, dispatched. In the old days, when I started, $6.14 an hour, no benefits other than just my hospitalization. I think I told Sheriff George I believe I could go out on the street and sell the Daily Herald and make more money than that. But hey, it took a hold on me, and I've enjoyed it. I went from that. We, at that time, a 64-bed facility, we had to make sure that you dispatched, you jailed, and you took care of the inmates as well. So it is a big responsibility. The animal control, that now is a part of the county mayor. And yes, that is an ongoing situation as well. As far as we get a lot of calls. We work with ag people, the agriculture departments, the animal cruelty and stuff, and it is something that I will continue to work hard at and look at and see where we need the proper people, where we need to be at to take care of those situations when they arise. Thank you.
Robin Howe.
As the sheriff, you've got a tremendous amount of responsibility, as Jimmy said. And not all of that is just going out and arresting criminals. As they've all stated, you've got the warrant service, there's your civil process there, the animal control, which gains some of their power through the sheriff's department, but mostly through the county mayor's office. And you've got corrections officers. For elected sheriff folks, it's business as usual the next day. A smart man surrounds himself with people that know their jobs, and they do their jobs professionally, and they do it courteously, and they do it efficiently. That would be my plan. It's business as usual. I don't foresee any changes in any of that. Once I get in place, we're going to check our efficiency. We're going to make sure that we're doing things the right way. If we're not, we're going to make changes, because it's you, the taxpayers, that we're accountable to, and we're going to make sure that you get the best service there. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that has completed our 8-question round robin. And now each candidate will have 5 minutes as a wrap-up to bring up any points that he have missed or any points that we did not bring up. So we're going to start first with Jimmy Tennyson.
First of all, I want to thank the Maury Alliance for sponsoring this opportunity to come before you good people of Maury County, and I would encourage everyone to vote between now and August the 2nd, and Election Day on Thursday, August the 7th. To protect and serve, I take those 4 words serious. As a 24-year veteran of the Sheriff's Department, I have been committed to protecting and serving the fine residents of Maury County. I know each aspect of the department, having served as jailer, deputy, sergeant on patrol, lieutenant, and captain. I have watched the department grow from the old jail on East 6th Street, downtown Columbia, to the facility on Lawson White Drive today. During my tenure with Sheriff George, we have implemented the School Resource Officers Program with an SRO in every Maury County school, a program which I am very proud and will continue to support. Now, contrary to other beliefs, we do have a church ministry program inside the jail. Being a Christian myself, I feel it is very important that those incarcerated find a correct path in their life and be rehabilitated. As sheriff, you must always set an example for all to see and follow. You must live what you believe and teach children at a very early age that there are consequences and bad behavior, that it is part of the learning process, that hopefully you will keep them out of trouble. As sheriff, I must control costs, oversee not only the department but the jail as well. You must also be a people person, either with those in administrative and or the inmates within the jail facility. You must work in complete cooperation with other law enforcement agencies in Columbia, Mount Pleasant, Spring Hill, and the surrounding counties. The sheriff is elected by the people. He is the chief law enforcement officer of the county and is responsible for keeping the peace and has more responsibility than the 3 chiefs of police, that of Columbia, Mount Pleasant, and Spring Hill. But with the responsibility comes more power, a power that is shared between all agencies. The Sheriff's Department is also responsible for all 614 square miles within Maury County. As our population has increased, the Sheriff's Department has grown in order to protect the people of Maury County, and we're proud of that. I'm very proud and humbled to have served under Sheriff George, which is sitting up here in the front this evening, and former Chief Deputy Ashley Brown in the back. They could not have been a better role model for me, and for that I will always be grateful, Sheriff George and Chief Brown. I am Jimmy Tennyson, and I want to be your next sheriff. For 24 years within the department proves I can do the job. With your support, we can continue to be a top-notch department. And again, thank you for your support during early voting and now through August the 2nd and on Election Day, August the 7th. Thank you.
Robin Howell.
As a teenager, I knew what career path I wanted to take. I lived my life in order to become a police officer. I'm not saying that I didn't do things that I probably shouldn't have done as a kid, but I did the right things. And fortunately, in 1984, I was hired by the City of Columbia Police Department, fulfilling a lifelong dream of becoming a police officer. I set out thinking, like most of us did when we got in law enforcement, that I could save the world. Single-handedly was going to save the world. And it didn't take long to figure out that you're not going to save the world. A lot of the world doesn't want to be saved, but you can make a difference. And over my almost 30-year career, I've tried to make a difference. I've tried to leave people better than I found them. I tried to make educational programs within my department better than they were. I've tried to make officers better officers than what they were. And I think I did. I recently retired in December to pursue another lifelong dream, and that's to be the sheriff of Maury County. I retired so I could dedicate all of my time to getting out and meeting the people and spreading my message and getting the word out there that I want to be your next sheriff. In my almost 30-year career, I participated in almost everything that come down the pipe. If they asked for a volunteer, I was the first one to raise my hand. If I didn't get picked, I complained until they picked me, whether it was because they thought I could do the job or just to shut me up. I didn't back away. I didn't stand on the sidelines. I haven't stood back waiting on a photo op because somebody else run out there and did the dirty work. I've been out there and I've done the dirty work. I've worked the streets of Columbia for almost 30 years. I've worked the streets of Columbia for almost 30 years. I've been on the ground, I've seen it, I've done it. I've also been a supervisor. I've been in management, I've been in administration, and I've been in leadership roles for more than half my career. But you can ask anybody that has worked with me or worked for me, Robin Howell never asked you to do anything that he wasn't willing to do himself. I think when the next sheriff takes office, there shouldn't be a learning curve. There should be somebody that's ready, somebody that's familiar with not only the law enforcement aspect of it, but with the budgetary process, the administrative part of that. And I have that experience. As I said, more than half my career has been in administrative and leadership positions. In my almost 30-year career, I've attended almost 5,000 hours of specialized law enforcement training. Not all of it in one thing, and not all of it within the last 2 or 3 years. It's been a span of almost 29 or 30 years that I have accumulated my education. It's a varied background. I have offered that up to each and every one of you on my website and on Facebook for you to go and read. That's my career. That's more than anybody else sitting up here has done. I'm not ashamed of anything I've done. I'm very proud of my accomplishments. And I urge you, if you've not read it, to go and read it. Make an informed decision when you walk in that voting booth. There are a lot of people in a lot of graves across this world that have fought and died for that freedom. And if you do not go and vote, you are doing a terrible injustice to them and what they sacrificed. My name is Robin Howell. I feel I am the best candidate for Maury County Sheriff. I want to humbly ask for your support and your vote when you walk into the voting booth. Thank you.
Bucky Rowland.
All right. I apologize on this last question if I looked or sounded confused, because I missed the first part of the question. Mike, he called me round robin and it threw me off. But I'd like to go back and address the correction side of it, because that's very important in my plan. And how I'm going to address that is with our inmates. One thing, I mean, real easy, it's common sense, it's not rocket science, but 9 convenience centers here in Maury County with a little bit of restructuring right there. You put 1 or 2 inmates at each one of those, let them start breaking down and recycling the trash that comes in. That's going to create a revenue. Actually, it's it's valuable recyclables that could be used for roads, schools, things like that. But they're giving back to their community. As far as I've shared this vision that I have and plan that I have for the past 2.5 years, and it must be a pretty good one, because I've had some of the guys up here. They've implemented some of it into their plan, and I appreciate that. And as far as our helping our inmates succeed, it's kind of that running joke. When they come into our jail, they find religion and then they leave it at the door when they leave. Well, we kind of set them up for failure as well. I'd like to take and say you've been there 6 months or a year. We need to take and you go through a certain process. If a volunteer's been dealing with you, I'd love for them, once it gets to that last month or so, that they can come and get an inmate, take them to church with them, to the worship service with them. That way that they're being plugged in while we still have some control. That doesn't mean that they're going to succeed, but I think it will increase their chances of success. I'm a very spiritual man, and I don't shove that down people's throat, but that's what I draw from. And I better get on with why I should be your sheriff, or why I'm qualified to be your sheriff. But this summer I've been talked to about the good old boy system and different things like that, and I believe that it's a real thing, and but I also believe that there's another system trying to replace it. And I'm not part of any clique. I'm my own man, and I love our community, and I want to make it better. I've served it at the Maury County Sheriff's Department the past 10 years, and I truly do. Whoever God puts in my path, I try and leave them better than I find them. And I've had that saying for years now. And there's been times we have to make educated decisions. What's going to be better for this person and better for society? And that's what I try and do. Not everyone needs to go to jail. Enoch and I, we've said that many times, and I believe it with all my heart. As far as I've heard a lot about education and experience. Don't mistake education for knowledge. Don't mistake experience for knowledge. I'm the only person sitting up here that I'm aware of that has started and built a successful business. And I had a great business. It wasn't fulfilling enough. That's the only reason that I sold out. My wife, she was shocked that I did. And I wanted to give back to my community. And that's what I've done. There was a stint in there between when I was a business owner in my law enforcement career, but I truly, I'm committed to making Maury County a better and safer place. And as far as running for sheriff, I'm 40, well, I'll be 40 years old in November. I believe I'm not the only choice for sheriff, but I'm the right choice. I don't believe in waiting to retirement. I believe I'm the right man at the right time. My heart's right, and I truly want to make a difference, and I don't have the baggage that some of the other folks have, and I really respect every man sitting up here. And I want to ask you this. Is there anyone in here that has any spiritual beliefs? If you would, raise your hand if you don't mind. If you believe in God, I want you to raise your hand. This is what if you don't believe in God, then I appreciate your vote. If you do believe in God, I want you to go home and I want you to pray what is right and God's will be done for this county. Not just in the sheriff's race, but in the mayor, every race, county commission, it doesn't matter, DA. Pray that God's will be done for this county, because that's what I'm praying for. I'm not praying for a win. I'm praying for God's will to be done for our county. My name's Bucky Rowland. I'd greatly appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Lewis Sweeney.
If you can, put yourself in my shoes. Then again, you might not want to. I want to thank everyone in Maury County for treating me fair as a trooper for the past 23 years. If it hadn't been for you, I would not have been able to survive the pressure that's been put upon me. I remember several citizens, black and white, coming to me with a worried look on their face, saying, "Son, please be careful. The good old boys in this town don't like somebody like you." I didn't quite understand what they meant by that until I decided to get involved in politics as a candidate. I remember you saying that you were sick and tired of the good old boys and politics as usual. In 2006, I decided to get involved as a candidate in the 5th District County Commissioner race. Rules, regulations, and policies were changed. The votes came in late in 2 districts, and it just so happened the district that I was running in happened to be one of them. I lost by 11 votes to Commissioner Andy Jackson, who just so happened to be a deputy sheriff. In 2010, I ran for sheriff in Maury County. Rules, regulations, and policies and procedures were changed again. 3 hours after I made my announcement to run for sheriff, I got transferred out of Maury County. I became the first trooper in the history of the Highway Patrol to run for an office to get transferred out of the county. The day after the election was over with, I was transferred back to Maury County. Now, here it is. In 2014, I'm running for sheriff again. And rules and regulations and policies and procedures have been changed again. But this time, the citizens of Maury County took a stand and voiced their concern about a candidate being able to campaign on duty, in uniform, and on taxpayers' time. You citizens spoke up, and I am so, so proud of you. We became as one, not only in spirit, but in thought. That gave me an indication that either 2 things, either those candidates, not one person spoke up and said a word, but me. That tells me 2 things. Either they were afraid to say something as a result of the fear of losing a vote, or they're good old boys themselves. When you decide to go in that campaign, that election booth, when you look at their names and you say to yourself, he's my friend, he's my kin, he has done a favor for me, then you look at my name and remember, I am the one that stood up for you. So think about that. When you're talking about education, I have 2 degrees. You're talking about experience. I've, first of all, started as a little safety patrol guy with a little flag in school. Then I became a military policeman during Vietnam. I wasn't drafted, I joined. Then I was a deputy sheriff. And now I just retired with the highway patrol after 23 years in Maury County. I will be a great sheriff and a blessing for Maury County. I will take a stand for you. I'm not afraid to answer the bad questions. I'm not afraid to do the right thing. And I'm going to do the same thing when I become your sheriff. Thank you.
Terry Chandler.
First off, I'd like to thank Columbia State and Maury Alliance and Chamber of Commerce for having this debate tonight. And thank all of you for coming out. Y'all could be doing something else on a Thursday night, but y'all decided to come out and listen to us and see what we had planned for the next sheriff. The reason I'm running for sheriff is because I care about you. I care about your family. I care about Maury County. This is my home. I'm not from here, but I moved here, and this is where I choose to stay, like many of you. I started out making $6.25 an hour as a deputy sheriff when I was 21 years old. That's not a whole lot of money for someone to put their life on the line. I was also in the Tennessee Army National Guard. I joined at an early age of 18. I served 20 years in the Tennessee Guard. I didn't sit on the sidelines during 9/11. I was deployed to Fort Campbell, Kentucky as a military police. Stayed in Kuwait for several months till we got orders to go into Iraq. My unit went in with the 1st Armored Division. We took over Baghdad. And our job, was to secure the police precincts in central Baghdad and also train the Iraqi police. I've served the community and my country. I'm the only candidate that stood in combat. While working for the Maury County Sheriff Department for the past 13 years, I was dedicated to furthering my education. I completed 3 college degrees while working for the Maury County Sheriff Department over a couple of years. I have an associate degree in police science from Austin Peay State University. I have a bachelor's degree in Homeland Security. That wasn't enough. I applied and wanted to teach college at Columbia State, and I was told I had to have a master's degree. So I continued and got my master's degree in criminal justice administration. That degree covers budget, administrative policy, public policy. It actually, you run an agency with that. I had to do a lot of research. While working a full-time job, I completed these 3 degrees. My whole life, I have dedicated myself to public service. I have also over 5,000 hours of what we call it's vocational training. The Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy offers classes each year we have to go to as far as in-service and specialized training. We all do that in law enforcement. We all have to attend in-service. But I stuck myself out there and continued beyond my high school diploma. And I am the best qualified candidate for Maury County Sheriff. I have been in county government. I have a plan. I have researched the budget. I know the budget. I know what money is being spent. I have worked at the Maury County Sheriff Department. I've seen the ins and outs and what works and what don't work. Any one of us up here will make some changes. That's going to happen. I was fortunate enough to also get to work for Sheriff Phoenix George. He hired me. I worked for Chief Ashley Brown. He also swore me back into the Tennessee Guard before 9/11. I have a lot of respect for these men. I have a lot of respect for the men and women that are in uniform that work for the department. I've worked with them. I, too, have been in the ditches and and working midnights and serving warrants and being in places that's very uncomfortable. With that being said, I also left the department back in August to pursue a job outside of law enforcement. And then I decided I wanted to run for Maury County Sheriff because I seen some of the things that needs to take place. And I'm not doing this for myself. I'm doing this for the citizens of Maury County. I could be doing other things, but I chose to stick myself out to run for Maury County Sheriff and to try to pick up where Sheriff George is leaving off, to make this a more professional department and making it a better place to live and worship and raise our family. My name is Terry Chandler, and I appreciate your vote. Early voting starts tomorrow. I'm a Christian and I'm a conservative, and I'm the only candidate up here that decided to run on the Republican ticket. So with that being said, I have made a stand. I also have taken an endorsement from Sheriff Richard Mack from Arizona as a constitutional sheriff. I am pro-Second Amendment and I'm pro-Constitution. Being military and being law enforcement, I believe that is very important. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our 5 candidates for Sheriff of Maury County, let's give them a hand.